If disaster strikes tonight, are you actually ready? Be honest. Most Americans aren't, and FEMA knows it. That's a problem. Natural disasters, power grid failures, pandemics, these aren't what ifs anymore. They're when. And when it happens, you don't want to be the one scrambling for supplies while everyone else is already in survival mode. In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 critical emergency items FEMA says every household needs. And here's the kicker, most people don't even have half of them. I'll also share a few life-saving tools that FEMA doesn't include but absolutely should. These are the things that could mean the difference between making it through a disaster or being caught completely unprepared. I've spent over a decade researching survival strategies, testing gear, and diving deep into FEMA's official disaster readiness plans. I've also studied real-world emergencies to figure out what people actually need when things go sideways. Stick around, because I'm not just listing the obvious stuff. Trust me, you don't want to miss number 9. It's the most overlooked, but arguably the most essential item on the list. Have you noticed shortages or price spikes on emergency supplies like bottled water, masks, or medical kits? Drop your observations in the comments. Let's help each other stay ahead of the curve. Indirect 1, water, the absolute lifeline. Let's cut to the chase. Without water, you're done. It's that simple. FEMA ranks water as the #1 priority for a reason. You can't survive more than a few days without it. They recommend storing at least 1 gallon per person per day for a minimum of 3 days. That's the bare minimum. Got a family of 5? You're looking at 15 gallons just to scrape by. And don't forget, this isn't just for drinking. That gallon per day also covers cooking, basic hygiene, and even brushing your teeth. Now let's talk storage. You don't need to break the bank to stockpile water. The easiest and cheapest method, grab gallon jugs from your local grocery store. They're usually around $1 each, and you can build your stash gradually. Toss an extra jug or 2 into your cart every time you shop, and before you know it, you'll have a solid emergency supply tucked away. If you're tight on space, consider investing in stackable water storage cubes. These 5 or 7 gallon containers are reusable, durable, and come with built-in spouts for easy pouring. They're a smart option for apartments or homes where space is limited. Just make sure to store your water in a cool, dark place. Direct sunlight and heat can degrade plastic containers and affect water quality. Avoid garages or sheds that heat up in the summer. Here's a pro tip, rotate your water supply regularly. Even bottled water has a shelf life. Experts suggest replacing it every 6 months to a year. Use a permanent marker to write the date on each container so you know when it's time to swap it out. Caught off guard without a water stash? Don't panic. If you know a disaster is imminent, fill up your bathtub immediately. A full tub can hold dozens of gallons of water. You can also fill clean soda bottles, pitchers, or even pots. Just make sure whatever you're using is clean. This isn't the time to cut corners. Bottom line, water is non-negotiable. If you don't have it, you're in trouble. 2, long-lasting food, your survival fuel. Next up, food. It's the second most critical item on FEMA's list, and for good reason. When disaster strikes, grocery stores are either wiped out or completely inaccessible. You need to have a stash of non-perishable food that can sustain you and your family for at least 3 days. FEMA's guideline? 3 meals per person per day. For a family of 5, that's 45 meals. Sounds like a lot, but it's easier to stockpile than you think. Let's start with the basics, canned goods. They're cheap, widely available, and have a long shelf life. Usually 2 to 5 years if stored properly. Think canned beans, soups, vegetables, tuna, chicken, chili, and even fruit. These are easy to prepare and don't require refrigeration. Pro tip, don't forget a manual can opener. Your electric one won't do you much good in a power outage. If you want something more compact and calorie dense, consider MREs, meals ready to eat. These are the same meals used by the military and survivalists. They're lightweight, come fully packaged, and often include utensils and flameless heaters. One MRE can pack anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 calories, making it a powerhouse meal. They're perfect for emergencies because they're easy to store and have a shelf life of up to 5 years. For long-term storage, freeze-dried meals are your best bet. You've probably seen those big buckets at camping stores or online. They're not cheap, but they offer 60 to 100 servings and can last up to 25 years if stored in a cool, dry place. These are great for people who want a set-it-and-forget-it solution. Don't overlook snacks like granola bars, trail mix, or peanut butter. They're high in calories, require no preparation, and can be lifesavers in a pinch. And if you've got kids, throw in some comfort foods like crackers or cookies. A little morale boost can go a long way during a stressful situation. Storage is key. Keep your food in a cool, dry place away from sunlight and moisture. Rotate your stockpile every 6 months to a year to ensure everything stays fresh, and don't forget to account for dietary restrictions or allergies in your household. The takeaway? Food isn't just about staying full. It's about staying alive. Plan ahead or you'll regret it. FEMA Tree Radio, your lifeline to information. When disaster strikes, information is power. When the power's out, your phone's dead, and the internet is down, how are you going to stay informed? That's where an emergency radio comes in. FEMA specifically recommends having a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, ideally one that also supports solar charging. This isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a must-have. Why? Because in a crisis, staying informed can literally save your life. Emergency radios give you access to real-time updates from the National Weather Service, local authorities, and emergency broadcasts. Whether it's a hurricane, wildfire, or grid failure, knowing what's happening and where to go for help is crucial. Let me give you a real-world example. When Hurricane Sandy hit New York City in 2012, entire neighborhoods were plunged into darkness for days, some for weeks. Food stations and shelters were set up just blocks away, but many residents had no idea they existed. Why? No internet, no TV, and no emergency radio. They were completely cut off. So what should you look for in an emergency radio? At a minimum, it should have 3 power options. Hand crank. When all else fails, you can generate power manually. Solar panel. Leave it in the sun during the day to keep it charged. USB charging port. Ideal for charging it from a power bank, car, or laptop when you still have access. Some of the best models also come with built-in flashlights, emergency sirens, and even phone charging ports. Radios like the Voyager, Eaton Sidekick, or the budget-friendly Running Snail are all solid choices. Placement matters too. Keep your radio in an easily accessible spot like your emergency kit or a central location in your home. And don't forget to test it periodically to make sure it's working. Here's the bottom line. When everything else fails, an emergency radio is your connection to the outside world. Don't underestimate its importance. Or first aid kit, your at-home ER. Let's be real. No one wants to think about getting hurt during a disaster. But here's the harsh truth. When chaos hits, hospitals might be overwhelmed. Roads could be blocked and professional medical help might not be an option. That's why first aid kit is non-negotiable. Not just a box of Band-Aids. It's your lifeline for handling injuries. When you're on your own, a proper first aid kit should go beyond the basics. Sure, you'll need adhesive bandages, sterile gauze, medical tape, and antiseptic wipes, but that's just the start. Add antibiotic ointments, tweezers, scissors, and non-latex gloves to your arsenal. Pain relievers like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, or aspirin are a must. And don't forget a thermometer and burn cream. These essentials cover minor injuries, but let's talk about the extras that could make or break your survival. Burn gel is a game changer. Whether it's a house fire, a cooking mishap, or boiling water during a blackout, burns are more common than you think. Having a cooling gel on hand can prevent infection and speed up recovery. Next, stock up on over-the-counter meds like antihistamines, Benadryl for allergic reactions, antidiarrheals for Imodium for stomach issues, and cold/medicine. These might seem minor, but in a prolonged emergency, they're lifesavers. If someone in your household relies on prescription medications, talk to your doctor about getting an extra 30-day supply. Pharmacies might be closed or inaccessible, and running out of critical meds during a disaster is a risk you can't afford. Here's something most people overlook: infection control. In a disaster, clean water might be scarce, and even a small cut can spiral into a serious infection. Stock antiseptics, sterile tools, and extra gloves to keep wounds clean. And don't forget to check your kit regularly. Medications expire and supplies run out. Bottom line, a first aid kit isn't just a box of supplies. It's your emergency room when the real one isn't an option. Don't skimp on this. 5. Whistle, the small tool that saves lives. A whistle? Really? It might sound ridiculous, but this tiny, unassuming tool could be the difference between life and death in a disaster. When FEMA says to include a whistle in your emergency kit, they're not kidding. Let me explain why. Imagine you're trapped after an earthquake, flood, or tornado. Your phone is dead and your voice is hoarse from yelling and no one knows where you are. A whistle cuts through the chaos. It's loud, piercing, and doesn't rely on batteries or your vocal cords. It's a signal that says, "I'm here, come find me." Let's look at real-life examples. During Hurricane Katrina, countless survivors were stranded in attics or on rooftops, surrounded by floodwaters. First responders were searching neighborhoods by boat and helicopter, but many people couldn't make themselves heard. Those who had whistles, they had a clear, unmistakable signal that carried over the noise. Not all whistles are created equal, though. You want one that's loud, like ear-piercing loud. Look for models that can hit 100 decibels or more. Some even come with lanyards or clips so you can keep them on you at all times. Don't just buy one, get a few. Keep one in your emergency kit, one in your car, and one in your keychain. Here's a pro tip: practice using it. In a high-stress situation, you don't want to be fumbling around trying to figure out how to blow a whistle. Teach your family members, especially kids, how to use it too. It might seem like a small, insignificant item, but when you're trapped and every second counts, A whistle could be your loudest cry for help. Don't underestimate it. Fixed masks, dust masks, breathing made safe. Air, it's something we take for granted until it's filled with smoke, ash, or toxic debris. That's why dust masks, or even better, N95 respirators, are a must-have in your emergency kit. FEMA recommends them for a reason. In many disasters, the air around you becomes a silent killer. Think about it. Wildfires fill the air with smoke and ash. Earthquakes kick up clouds of dust and debris. Industrial accidents can release harmful chemicals. Even pandemics make the air a potential threat. Breathing in these particles isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Let's break down your options. At the bare minimum, you've got basic dust masks. These are the cheap ones you find at hardware stores. They're better than nothing, but let's be honest, they're not great. They might block large particles, but they won't do much against fine ash, smoke, or airborne pathogens. Next up are surgical masks. You know, the blue ones we all wore during the pandemic. They're designed to protect others from your droplets, not to protect you from inhaling harmful particles. They're okay in a pinch, but they're not ideal for disaster scenarios. If you're serious about protection, go for N95 respirators. These masks are designed to filter out 95% of airborne particles as small as 3 microns. That includes smoke, dust, bacteria, and even viruses. The key is the fit. N95s form a tight seal around your nose and mouth, which means way less air sneaks in through the sides. Here's a pro tip. Don't just buy them. Learn how to wear them properly. An N95 that doesn't fit right is almost useless. And if you're buying for kids, make sure to get child-sized masks. Storage matters too. Keep your masks in a cool, dry place and check the expiration dates. Yes, masks can expire, especially if the elastic bands degrade over time. In a disaster, clean air can become a luxury. A simple mask could save your lungs and maybe even your life. Don't wait until it's too late to add this to your kit. 7. Plastic sheeting and duct tape, your DIY survival shield. Let's talk about 2 items that might make you scratch your head. Plastic sheeting and duct tape. At first glance, this combo sounds more like a weekend home improvement project than a survival necessity. But don't be fooled. These 2 items are on FEMA's emergency list for a reason. They're not just for patching up broken windows or sealing a leaky pipe. In a disaster, they can literally save your life by helping you create a sealed, safe environment. Here's the deal. Plastic sheeting and duct tape are essential for building what's called a shelter in place. This means sealing off a room in your home to protect yourself from contaminated air. Think chemical spills, biological threats, or even radioactive fallout. Imagine a nearby industrial accident releases toxic gas, or a train derails and leaks hazardous chemicals into the air. You might not have time to evacuate, and that's where this setup becomes critical. Here's how it works. Pick an interior room with as few windows and doors as possible. Bathrooms or laundry rooms are ideal. Use the plastic sheeting to cover vents, windows, and any gaps where outside air could seep in. Then seal the edges with duct tape to make it airtight. It's not glamorous, but it's effective. Pro tip, don't skimp on the quality of your materials. Go for heavy-duty plastic sheeting, at least 4 to 6 mil thick, and high-quality duct tape that won't peel off under pressure. Keep these items stored together in an easily accessible spot so you can act fast when needed. And don't just think of this as a one-trick pony. Plastic sheeting can also be used to cover a damaged roof, create a makeshift rain shelter, or even collect rainwater in a pinch. Duct tape? It's the Swiss Army knife of adhesives. Use it to repair gear, secure tarps, or even fashion a temporary bandage. Bottom line, plastic sheeting and duct tape might not seem like survival gear, but when the air outside turns deadly, they're your first line of defense. 8. Sanitation supplies, the unseen essential. Let's get real for a second. No one likes to talk about what happens when the toilet stops working. But in a disaster, sanitation isn't just about comfort, it's about survival. FEMA recommends stocking up on moist towelettes, garbage bags, and plastic ties. And while it might not sound exciting, these items are absolutely critical. Here's why. When the water stops running and the toilet stops flushing, things can get ugly fast. Poor hygiene can lead to infections, illness, and even disease outbreaks, especially if you're stuck indoors with your family for days or weeks. So let's break down what you need and why. First up, moist towelettes. These are your go-to for staying clean when there's no running water. Use them to wash your hands, clean your face, or wipe down surfaces. Alcohol-based wipes are the best because they also disinfect. Stock up on value packs for home use and smaller travel-size packs for go bags. Next, garbage bags and plastic ties. These aren't just for trash, they're your emergency toilet system. When your toilet doesn't flush, you'll need a backup plan. The simplest solution? A bucket toilet. Line a 5-gallon bucket with a heavy-duty trash bag, do your business, tie it off, and seal it. You can even place the bag in your toilet bowl if you prefer to sit as usual. Just make sure the water line is turned off. Pro tip: keep extra garbage bags on hand for other uses, like isolating contaminated items, storing wet clothes, or managing regular trash. And don't forget to have a sealed trash can or designated area to store used bags until proper disposal is possible. Finally, consider adding a few extras to your sanitation kit, like hand sanitizer, portable toilet chemicals, and even a small shovel for outdoor emergencies. Trust me, you don't want to be caught unprepared when nature calls. Sanitation might not be glamorous, but it's non-negotiable. In a disaster, staying clean isn't just about comfort, it's about staying healthy. 9. Wrench and pliers, tools that take control. When disaster strikes, control is everything, and sometimes the only way to take control is with a wrench and a pair of pliers. These aren't just tools, they're survival essentials that can help you shut off utilities, make emergency repairs, and prevent a bad situation from getting worse. Here's the deal: in many disasters, you might need to manually shut off your gas or water lines to protect your home and family. And let's say an earthquake damages your gas line, or flooding contaminates your water supply. If you don't act fast, you could be dealing with fires, explosions, or widespread contamination. That's where these tools come in. Start with a gas shutoff wrench. Most homes have a shutoff valve near the gas meter, and all it takes is a quarter turn to stop the flow of gas. But here's the catch: most people don't know where their valve is, much less how to use it. Pro tip: find your shutoff valves now and practice using them before disaster strikes. Your kit should also include an adjustable wrench for water valves and a solid pair of pliers for extra grip or cutting power. A multi-tool is another great addition. It's compact, versatile, and perfect for smaller tasks like tightening screws or cutting wires. Here's a bonus tip: store your wrench near your gas meter or water valve. Use a zip tie to attach it directly to the meter, or keep it in a clearly marked spot nearby. When seconds count, you don't want to waste time digging through a cluttered toolbox, and don't forget, these tools aren't just for shutting off utilities. They're also handy for emergency repairs, like securing a tarp over a broken window, adjusting a generator, or even fixing a leaky pipe. In a disaster, a wrench and pliers give you the power to protect your home and your family. Don't underestimate their importance. And manual can opener, the unsung hero. Let's end with an item that's so basic it's often overlooked: the manual can opener. You've stocked up on canned food, right? Great. But here's the million-dollar question: how are you planning to open those cans when the power's out and your electric opener is useless? A manual can opener is small, cheap, and absolutely essential. Without it, your stash of non-perishable food is just a pile of sealed metal you can't access. And trust me, trying to open a can with a knife or rock is a recipe for frustration and possibly injury. Not all manual can openers are created equal, though. Look for one that's sturdy, made of stainless steel, and easy to grip. Avoid flimsy models that rust or break after a few uses. Military-style P38 or P51 openers are great as backups. They're compact and durable, but they can be tough on the hand. If you have arthritis or limited hand strength, stick with a traditional turning-style opener. Pro tip: don't store your can openers separately from your food supplies. Keep it in the same bin or bag as your canned goods, or attach it to your emergency kit with a carabiner. And while you're at it, consider having more than one. Toss a spare in your car, bug-out bag, or camping gear. Here's another thing to think about: utensils. Opening a can of soup is great, but it's not much use if you don't have a spoon. Add a few sporks, mess kits, or even disposable utensils to your food stash. The manual can opener might not be flashy, but it's a workhorse. When the lights go out, it's the tool you'll reach for again and again. Don't forget it.